It seems that the Formula One drivers in 2026 are not bothered and they are not worried about the race start procedure. In fact, most of them seem to be okay or comfortable with how things are and the longer engine lives that they have to do. Listening to the drivers during press conferences on the sidelines of the pre-season testing that is taking place in Bahrain, the drivers seem to be comfortable and they feel that the race start is actually not dangerous. Valtteri Bottas was one of those drivers who spoke, and he argued that there should be no problem and that the race start is not dangerous. In fact, his only concern was for the people who would be at the back of the grid, because by the time they line up on their slots or their positions, probably they may not have enough time for them to rev their engines. It is a sentiment that was also echoed by Lewis Hamilton, who said that the current race procedure is not dangerous. In fact, he argued that people should stop saying that the race procedure of restarting or starting a race is actually dangerous. He was of the view that one can actually also get off the line without using much of the turbo, and only insisting that maybe there are some drivers or cars that may experience an anti-stall. And that, I think, would be a drivability kind of a situation, not necessarily a safety issue. But Max Verstappen was savage when it came to this particular issue. To him, he simply said that if someone feels that it is dangerous to start a race, they should actually do it, or they should start their race on the pit lane. And I guess that sums the general feeling among the drivers that it is possible for someone to be able to start with the current situation. You can be able to rev the car, whether it's for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, and still be able to get off the line. If this is the first time that we are meeting, I am Joe, and on this YouTube channel, I talk about Formula One and the business of Formula One. And I would really appreciate it if you would take your time to subscribe to this YouTube channel. What this means is that while the rest of us were looking at it from a safety point of view, the drivers seem to have a very different point of view. They are looking at it as a drivability issue. That if you are unable to drive the car, you probably should start your race from the pit lane. And it is not necessarily something that is dangerous for them. And in fact, when you look at the race start practice that they did, the cars seem to get off pretty well. I think the only thing that probably would be very new to a lot of us who watch Formula One is the blinking lights on their side mirrors. And like someone said, those lights blinking almost looked like being on a Christmas celebration. That's too much light, and I think it's something that is probably inbuilt in the car, that when the car is stalled or when the car has stopped, it blinks automatically. And I think it's a very good safety feature for when there is no visibility, or when a car has been spun or is involved in an accident or something. But I think for the restart, that will be something that we'll have to get used to. And I would want to actually know what you think about this particular situation. Do you agree with the drivers that it is not dangerous, that the race procedure should not be changed, which is an issue that actually McLaren were pushing for, trying to argue that it may not be very safe to actually leave the cars for the period that actually they are being left to be ready for a restart. And probably there will be some changes here and there with regard to the timing of the lights and when they go out, so that it gives all teams or all drivers an opportunity to be able to be ready for the start of the race. If this is the first time that we are meeting, I am Joe, and on this YouTube channel, I talk about Formula One and the business of Formula One. Now, I would really appreciate it if you would take your time to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you have enjoyed this conversation, I'm sure you are going to enjoy the video on your screen right now. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not, and I'm going to see you in my next video.